Do you want financial independence? If you're interested in knowing information of how to obtain some financial independence, then this is the video for you. But if you're not interested in knowing anything about financial independence, then this would be the best time to continue scrolling on the video that you was previously watching or the video that you're about to watch. Because we want to get into some essential topic when it comes to financial independence, especially when things is changing rapidly in the economy. You got war in the Middle East, things can increase, and you got rumors of war, and you got rumors that there are going to be plenty of layoffs, whether it's in your country or in a different country. It's getting tight as we know it, and there's many events that going to distract you on your way for what you want to pursue. So when it comes to financial independence, it's possible to work from home. You're going to require discipline. You're going to require time. You're going to require some strategy that you're going to put in place in order to have a step-by-step process for you to have a roadmap in order to have success without scamming or without scheming or without unrealistic hype. So when we look at that, it's all about what you're going to calculate. So the first step into financial independence, you got to calculate your FI numbers, which is your financial independence number. What it's going to take for you to get financial independence. You got to have your formula. So when you have your formula in place, you're going to base it up on a percentage rule. How much percent? Let's say, for example, you want 4% rule, withdrawing 4% yearly from investment without depleting capital. So if you're talking about, for example, you spend 40,000 a year, you need $1 million invested. So it's saying, so if you want to multiply that, if you're spending 20,000 a year, you're gonna need 100,000 investment. You see what I'm saying? How much you spend and how much you're gonna invest, that's gonna be up to you. If you want to retire early, adjust your higher saving or your lower expense. You gotta balance the book. This is one of the stuff they don't teach you constantly when you're dealing with school. If you was instructed in the right way to balance your book, just like rich folks instruct their kids how to maneuver in the society, a lot of people did not get that privilege. So when it comes to financial independence, it's all about numbers. Your projected numbers and your projected numbers that you want to gain, and your expense. It's all about what you have, your income and your expense, not to mention your liability too. So if you have an annual expense times 25 equal your financial independence. So that means you're spending a certain amount, you multiply it by 25, and that go equal your financial expense. So once you've done that, now you're going to have to go to the next step, which is build income stream. Fastest path to financial independence. There are most improved methods for it to replace and to exceed the traditional income, which is going to work. You know, you're going to have something on the side in order to maneuver. So certain income stream you're going to have, which is highly income, which is going to go down like in the avenue of remote work. Because you got remote work get high income that you can go where you want to go, move where you want to move, and you can able to do remote work. So the high income remote work is going to be around 100,000. So if you get that kind of job, now you have 100,000 coming in a year. Do you got expense? Yeah. Do you got want to go out, ledger, food, security, housing? All of that going to play a role when it comes to high income. Cause once you start to get money, you start to lax your goal, and you start to not oversee those insight of what you need to do. So the best job to get the high income remote work is software engineering. That paid it from 120K to 300K. And if you're a software engineer already, you can able to use your skills to ascend to a higher level. Now you got AI and machine learning specialists. How you going to do this? This is how you're going to create a machine. You're going to create a robot. You're going to create a bot. All these things to be able to accomplish a task. Now they pay up to 150,000 to 400K. So it depends on what you got going on, your skill level. You can the entry level is 150,000. That's for AI machine learning, because that's where it's at now. So if you're able to obtain that, now you have the higher income in the remote work. Now you can diversify, manage your time, and going into the step one, which is your investment. You got to go back to annual expense. How much you going to spend if you're making that 100,000 a year? Times 25 equal financial independence. So you got to multiply your expense times 25. Because now you spending more if you're making more, or if you're spending less, that's even the best. Now, the next job is sales. If you're in sales, which is SaaS, that's in software development too. All of that in software. The most higher job right now is in software. Or tech, you might get 80,000 to 250K, and then you can get weekly commission. Depends on what you got to do. Because if you're in sales, you can get that up there. So where to learn? You can learn stuff for free, like free code camp. You can learn at Harvard CS50. Look that up. Or you can pay if you want to learn these things. Coursera, excuse my pronunciation, and Udacity, and then nano degrees. That means all of this we don't pronounce, that we don't get. These platforms coming to us regularly, so the pronunciation gonna be off sometimes. So you can look it up. Coursera is Coursera, and Udacity is Udacity, and nano degrees on that. So Udacity, nano degrees. So NANODEGREES for nano degrees. So when you think about that, when you think about learning, that's where you're going to learn. But when you think about scalable online business, that's the next route you want to take, because you want to be able to scale online business, right? So to gain passive income. So some of the top models you want to understand with that is digital products. When it comes to ebook, if you can create an ebook, awesome right there. You can promote that ebook. Courses and templates. It depends on what you got going on. So digital products is a new avenue. You can make 10K to 50K a month, but you got to go out there and promote it. You can also do YouTube automation, faceless channel ads, which generate 5K to 100K a month. Depends on what you got going on, but depends on your niche, because you got to have a niche when you're going into these top models and these scalable online business. When you deal with affiliate website, the SEO and the affiliate links, you can make between 3K to 30K a month. And then the startup cost could be around 100K even to 5K, mostly for the tools and the ads. So some of these might cost 5K to a hat. Now, like the digital product, if you're making an ebook, you're going to take about time, but it's going to take time to promote, and you're going to take time if you're going to get a physical. If you're going to do a course, you're going to take time, because you got to put it together in the appropriate way, so you can funnel it out on these platforms and get your income. Now, when it comes to invest, you got growth wealth while you sleep. That means you grow well, you're growing wealth while you sleep, investing. Depends on the kind of investment. Some people go on the index funds. They have index funds, they got rental property, and they got dividend stocks. You feel what I'm saying? So these three gonna play a role on what you got going on there. Now the rules when it comes to investment, invest 50% of income to accelerate financial independence. So you got 50% of your income, you want to accelerate that. Now if you got a good online business and you want to invest, you got to diversify your income. That means sometimes you need a investment manager, or you need to get with these guys that use investment outlet to able to get that in their portfolio. So you want to do that. The dividend stock is monthly passive income. The rental property is cash flow and appreciation. The index fund is you get between 7 to 10 average return. So you got to consider how you're going to invest. And then the next things you want to do is freelance. Freelance, you got agency, leverage time, and you got a path that you got to follow in order to start your freelancing. Whether it's web design, whether it's copywriting, you know what your skills you got available. Some of the system workflow is that you might have to hire some contractors. So some of the systemized workflow is about hiring a contractor to do whatever tasks you got to do, you know. So if you got clients out there looking for your service, then that would be a best way. It scales. You can scale it into an agency where you can make about 20 to 100K a month. But you got to pick a niche, stick with it, because it's not a get rich scheme, or we ain't going to go to the level where we have unrealistic goal. So you're going to have to able to maneuver with what you pick and stick with it. That means you got to master it. You can't judge yourself by somebody that doing something. You got to be able to figure it out and get to the financial independence with all those things in play. Now, step 3 is the slash expense. You know, you got to slash the expense. Boost saving rate. So when you cut your expense, you know, let's say, you know, when you're at the bottom, you got to cut expense because you had no choice. But when you're in the intermediary group, then you might lose track and spend unrealistically. Or when you have a larger sum of money, you're making 100,000, you feel that you want to keep up with the Joneses, when the Jones might not be studying what you're doing. They might see you, but the Joneses moving with the Joneses, you know. So that example you must take in account when you're slashing expense. Cut the big 3: the housing, the transportation, and the food. That means when it comes to housing, you got to move into an area where you can rent out a room. For those who are getting started, because we got people that have a house now, they got to downsize and they got burdened with the crisis that going on in the world because they did not acquainted with the financial independence matrix. So when it comes to transportation, sell car if possible, use bike and transit. That means those that starting off from the beginning, if you're just starting off and you say, hey, I'm going to be TikTok, I'm going to do TikTok, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick with it. Then you got to cut expense where you got to cut it. If you got food, you got to cook at home and limit the dine out. So if you're dining out daily, start to get cooked. Get in a cookbook. However, you can cut these expenses. You got to slash expense. The FIRE movement trick is every $1 saved equal 25 less needed for financial independence. So every dollar you save equals $25 less needed for financial independence. Imagine that matrix. You're saving $1 and it equals $25 less needed for your financial independence. So you got to get up to that $25. So it is is a psychological mindset. You need to have that, hey, I need to get here because things is not panning out the way it is, and I can't follow friends, I can't follow the group. Because if you follow others, you might lose out on your entire goal. So you got to keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to steps 4, we're going to optimize the tax, because that is going to come around. Keep more dollars in your pocket. So one of the financial independence way to look at it is deal with IRA, the 401ks, tax-free growth, and then the LLC or the S Corp, save 50% on self-employment tax, because you're hiring yourself. And then you got the real estate depreciation, offset rental income. That means if you're renting, you want to save. So imagine when you start to look in your portfolio and you want to cut the big, all those expense. You deal with housing, transportation, and food. And not to mention, if you invest in, now you're dealing with index, rental property, and dividend stocks. So you got to combine all of that in your matrix when you're trying to optimize that tax incentive and keep more money in your pocket or in the bank or in your trust, etc. Now, when it comes to step 5, you got to deal with tracking and accelerating progress. So some of the tools you're going to need is personal capital. What is the personal capital that you need? What is the network tracker that you're using? What's the spreadsheet that you're using to update monthly income or expense? Or how is your mindset when you're able to focus on sustaining that growth, not a get rich quick scheme or not a get rich quick formula, but it's a long-term pace for you to finish. When you finish the finish line, you're able to see all the dollars in your sight and in your pocket and in your accounts or in all those investment right there. So you gotta celebrate each step you take. You start to focus, celebrate. You start celebrate each milestone. You make 100K invested. You gotta celebrate that. You start to get some track on your social media. You celebrate that, and then keep the ball rolling. So it's all about being realistic. You have a timeline based on your saving rate. If you got a saving rate, just like they did with the social security rate, and if it's not in your country, the social security incentive where you put in and then you're able to get something out, then you gotta keep in mind, you gotta move how you're supposed to move with the appropriate formula and be realistic about it. When you have to saving away 50%, the years to financial independence is going to be 17 years. If you deal with 65% of the saving rate, then it's going to be 10 years, 0.5 years. If you deal with 75%, then it's going to be 7 years. You know, these are things that you must be realistic about. So you got to have that in mind when it comes to saving and keeping consistency with what you're doing. Is emergency going to happen? Yes, emergency going to come in the wind. And they call what you call Murphy Law. When things come up, sometimes multiple things going to come up too. So you got to consider that when you're saving. Some of the pitfalls to avoid is lifestyle inflation, because we see it now. Even job loss, we see it now. You're competing among many people in this industry, so you got to keep that in mind. Don't upgrade spending with income. So don't upgrade spending with the income. That's the lifestyle of inflation rate. That means you're supposed to spend with investment, I guess, or take out investment. So if you don't upgrade, that means you tell her not upgrading your lifestyle. You're on a plan. If you upgrade, that going dip in the years that you're going to move forward it, and then you got to recalculate. Higher risk gambles, which is crypto and the stock. Stick to index fund, because some people that know how to do the stocks, that's what they do for a living. They do stocks. That's their lifeline. You know, unfortunately, a lot of people is not there to read on multiple companies, read on what's going on in companies, and study that daily. So those that in that realm may able to master that, but you can't gamble in stocks. You got to stick to index fund if you on a different path from those that in the stock market. Isolation. Join financial independent community like community on some of these social media. You gotta find it, look it up. So one of the stuff you gotta do is take the next step. How you gonna take the step? You gotta make a move. How you gonna make a move? Pick an income stream. How you gonna pick an income stream? Whether freelance, YouTube or investment or TikTok, allow that to be your option. What you gonna do next? You're gonna save 50% of your earning. Aggressively invest the rest. Once you aggressively invest the rest, it's just like if you start a business and you get 100K. The bank give you 100K. You can't use that 100K. You got to use 50% to invest. Cause you got to get back the money to build up to cover the 100K while you use the other half, which is 50K, to do what you got to do. And even in that, you got to make income. But this is just for example. You got to make income, and even with that, you got to maneuver. You got to think ahead. You got to think of what might happen, because sometimes the news or the media might give you insight, but it's not the insight for your path. So it might throw you off. So you got to think of that. So what you want to do is automate the finance. By automating finance, set up auto investing in Vanguard, Fidelity, and all those platform or company that give you the avenue to invest. So which step will you focus on first? It's up to you. Make sure you tailor a plan. Ask for some financial advice. Seek investment advice for the appropriate outlet, and ask an accountant and those that will help you to meet your goal. So when it comes to your financial independence, make sure you take a direct path that you can stick with for the rest of your life. You see that many times in social media, on YouTube, or you hear it in the news. So the path is be consistent. It's not financial independence is not about scam or about unrealistic goals. It's about meeting our objectives, set a plan in motion, and work it, and see the insight of the change of the economy while you continue work your plan to the end. So if you're interested in financial investment, make sure you give us a like, follow, and we're going to continue to share more insight of how you can create financial independence as you go on the road and on the path to achieve your goals and your objective.